changing the tenor a bit. We wanted to have a mix of today so that it's not all talk about research, but also research dissemination. And we have a very distinguished journalist whom, as I said early on, has also worked in an advocacy program that has to do with something that's so special and unique to women, and that has to do with, I will leave her to say the rest of it. So we'll invite our very distinguished journalist, Treasure. And that's her professional name, FunkeTreasure. Many of you who listen to Metro FM and to other places and have been watching some of the network would probably recognize the face. And if you don't, afterwards, you get to know more about her. Over to you, Tresh.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, our distinguished speaker. Thank you very much. You made my job easy already. Madam and sir, thank you very much for putting me on this side of the hall. And yes, thank you so much, Professor Nduka Otiono, for this opportunity to share my experience. So I welcome you. This is about leveraging the media to advertise research outputs. I do not have much time because Professor Nduka has already, Professor Otiono has already cut part of my time. But I want to welcome our ladies from different parts of West Africa to Nigeria. Now, this is what you are. In Yoruba land, where I come from, what we say to the girl child is to encourage them to go to school, is that when you go to school and you walk, thank you, ma'am. This is how you walk. Your shoes will be loud. Your footstep, when you're coming, because this is a combination of knowledge, awareness, agency. You're mixing everything together. When you have knowledge, you adjust and you're very confident. And when you enter into a place, people know that somebody has entered. So I'm going to teach you a very simple song that we use to back that up for our girl children. We say, Batare duko koka. Batare duko koka tobaka we. Tobaka we. Who doesn't understand French? It means that if you studied, if you had education, your shoes will not be slapping around, but it will be making the sound. You'll have money to buy good shoes that you walk confidently in a rhythmic movement. Do you understand now? All right, so welcome to our scholars on this great fellowship. Your slogan for this scholarship is her own room to write. Her own room to write, and that's in Hausa. When I saw that, it got me thinking, what does that even mean? Her own room to write. And as I began to search, I saw Virginia Woolf's book, A Room of One's Own. And then she went forward and then she said, for a woman to write fiction, you have to have money to rent your own room to write fiction. If you Google that, you'll find that quote there. And that set me thinking, because being a scholar means that you have financial literacy as well. It means that you have financial independence as well. And it means that you have agency, as I said earlier. It means that you can be part of knowledge distilling, knowledge distribution, and knowledge creation. It's important that we have women in this at these tables where such things are done. I'm going to be speaking to the rule of three, and the keynote speaker already did that with the three women she shared with us. It's as if she spied into my notes. So I'm going to stick to the rule of three. I'm going to be using a lot of C's, like connect, like collaborate, like communicate, and more. And I'm going to be talking about women in academia, popular women in academia. I'm also going to be talking about research in popular forms. Basically, what's my work here, what's my job this afternoon, is to talk about the importance of effective communication and promotion in the scholarly landscape. It's also to explore how researchers can leverage social media to enhance the visibility or the impact of their research. So first things first, I have a quote from a woman here. She's Laura Kane, and she speaks to what it means to access the media. She said, "It's easy for journalists to find people who are willing to share an opinion on a subject. That's a given for us. What is rare to find is someone who has data points related to that topic. Everybody talk is cheap. But when you are a researcher, you bring in something different to the table." And so I haven't worked as a presenter, as a producer, as a manager of talents in both radio, digital, TV. I can tell you that we're always looking for people with data points related to the topic. So that puts you in a very rare, special space that I need you to value. In the next slide, you find a collage of brands. A collage of brands like Tesco, Walmart, Disney, and Kingfisher. All of these brands. Why are they brands? What does it mean to be a brand as a scholar? How do you move on from the end of this fabulous fellowship to that point where you become a scholar that is a brand, or a scholar who is a brand? That's partly what I'm here to do today. Right, so in the next slide, you find the question, how do companies like this use media to advertise? How do companies use media to advertise? Of course, we know they post pictures, they post videos, they do storytelling, they do live videos. Why? Because those things represent their brands and attracts the relevant audience. The question is, how can you leverage the media to advertise your research outputs? And I'm saying starts as a brand, a scholar brand. And if you look at that piece on branding, please go back to it. I want to speak to that briefly. That's important. Yes, you will see that branding is both visual, verbal, and behavioral. It's the totality of your brand experience. What you say, what you do, how you look, the packaging, the main offering, the uniforms, the brand, promotions, signage. All of these are in the mix of your brand experience as a scholar. And branding, of course, you know that TV's brand, radio's brand. Even those of us who are podcasters, we also brand. So it's very important that you begin to see yourself as a brand. Now let's go to traditional media. By that I mean legacy media. What are those? I'm talking radio, TV, print, and I have some of them here today. Even photojournalism, you know. And then I go back to Laura. Laura said original research and related data make you a credible source for reporters and can help you develop a following of who? Interested stakeholders. You will get me interested if you come to my zone, if you come as a brand, and I can relate with you, with your originality. Our keynote speaker talked about innovation, adaptability. That's what we're looking for in the media. And then with that, I go to the strategic messaging, the ABC method. Of course, you know that I'm running through this so I can give you all that I have. Strategic messaging, the ABC method. One is your audience, audience. Who is your target audience as a scholar? Are you in health research? Are you in security research? Are you in law? Where are you? You have to be a brand, a scholar that is a brand in that area. That is strategic. Then you come to behavior. What do you want your audience to do? What do you want your audience to do? I'm both a scholar and a professional. And what do I want my audience to do as a professional looking at menstrual health? I want behavioral change. I want people to normalize period stories. I don't want it to be hush-hush anymore. So I'm doing everything I need. It's my brand in addition to my brand as a media person. So what's the behavioral change you want? Secondly, content. What tone of messaging will resonate with your audience? What specific information is interesting and persuasive to them? You have to be innovative. It's either you innovate or you die. All right? So you have to innovate with your content. Everybody has content. You hear content is king. Distribution is queen. But where is your king? You have to situate your king and locate it for us. Okay, delivery. How traditional or social media will deliver your message and who you're going to use. Of course, the who here is you. Now, engagement. How do you want to encourage a two-way conversation? How do you want to spark discussion? What kind of questions do you want to start responding to, even when people don't ask you? So you come to a place like this and they say, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome Dr. XYZ. We'll just give you the microphone for you to say a few words. Say a few words, mistake. I have a lot to say. And I'm not just going to say anything. I'm going to say what is, my brand is about. So I use that opportunity to push my brand. Then we talk of follow-up. You're invited to a radio station, a TV station. You've gone, you've done all your, you've shared your research output with us. They've told you, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you very much, Dr. XYZ. I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's the end. You never connect again with the radio station, with the presenter, or with the producer. Zero follow-up. Don't do that. Because as you do that, you are doing what? You're networking. And this is a networking event. I don't expect that you finish from here and I do not have your contacts. In fact, if you don't come, I will come. Because my space includes West Africa. And if I find myself in your country, in fact, before I come to your country, I'll look for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Networking is very important. Now, let's look at women researchers leveraging media. These are my favorite people, ladies and gentlemen. When I said I'm going to use the rule of three, these are the three people I'm starting with. The first one you know so well, that's Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, scholar, author, got everything under her belt. The second person in the middle there was my lecturer when I was in Rhodes University in Grahamstown, South Africa. She's Jane Duncan. And the third person was my friend, a younger scholar. She's an associate professor now. Her name is Sipokazi Magadla. All of these people you can Google. So let me go to their next slide. All three of them have published their research works, continually publishing their research work. Chimamanda has essays that she has published. She didn't leave them in research journals. She took a step to publish. I'll start with Sipokazi here, Guerrillas and Combative Mothers, Women and the Armed Struggle in South Africa. Sipo was writing this when I left South Africa, but I followed her work because when she was done, she then turned it into a book, and then she did a media tour. I was going, oh my God, where I was like, this is how to do it. That's Chimamanda there. We should all be feminists. I have a copy of this book. It's just her unbundling from within. What does it mean? She has another one about the things it takes you to be a feminist as well. She has essays. She keeps publishing. So if you're not experiencing her at conferences, academic conferences and workshops, you will experience her in this popular form, which is books. Then you see Jane Duncan, Stopping the Spies. She was my lecturer. She taught us media policy. Brilliant. She also writes, which takes me, she has more than a book, which takes me to the next slide, which is about thought leadership. Jane Duncan writes for the media. My sisters, you must not keep your research in your laptops. They must not end with ResearchNet and Academia Edu. You must, you should, because this is prestigious. And just as our keynote speaker said, when you do it right, the people behind you will pat on your shoulders and do better. And we want them to do better. We don't want you to keep those things inside your whatever it is. Jane Duncan contributes to newspapers, Daily Maverick, The Conversation, Open Democracy, News 24. Just type Jane Duncan and see what she's done with herself and with her works. Sipokazi, my friend, writes for the media as well. You can see that link there. The thing about writing, and which I find that we don't do really much of as scholars and academics here in Nigeria, is that there's no meeting of the town and the gown as it should be. We're just here, the ivory towers, and we leave those of us in the media. Come, let us be together. All right? Collaborate. Let's go to Why Nations Fail. So it's not enough for you to write for the media or to do your thing, but you must collaborate. And I'm using Why Nations Fail as an example. Why Nations Fail won the Nobel Prize for economic sciences. It was just not one person, it was 3 people, right? So you have the slide, so let me move on. So your research must meet community. Your research must meet community. And in this wise, I introduce to you Factfulness. I'm reading this book at the moment. Tipping Points. We all know Malcolm Gladwell, but he's redone his book. From tipping point to revenge of the tipping point. So you must continually evolve. So I'm going to run through. And that's Malcolm Gladwell for you. Malcolm Gladwell is a researcher, is a podcaster, is a journalist like me. He's written 7 books, all of them bestsellers. He's a co-founder of a podcast industry, or company rather, and he does podcasts with other people, collaborate. And you can read more about Malcolm Gladwell there, so I'm going to move on. So social media, quickly. How do you use social media as a scholar? You've just finished with your scholarship, with your fellowship. So what's next? Are we going to know you or you're going to be in obscurity? Because we don't know you yet. You're done with your work, but we want to know you. Whether you're in Cameroon, Ghana, Togo, Togo, Porto Novo, and all of those places, we want to know you. So disseminate your research findings to a broader audience. Measure the impact of your research. Measure research performance. Demonstrate the value of your research. It's not going to stay in the university. That's not where you're going to demonstrate it. Attract funding. You can use it to attract funding by talking about it on social media. You can even use it to collect more data. It's the end of your research, but you're using it to gather more data. So you need to be on social media. You must not run away from social media. And these are the social media platforms that are most useful for academics. Twitter, you find a lot of journalists and researchers there. Instagram, maybe not so much unless you're posting photos of where you were on the field. But Facebook and LinkedIn, particularly LinkedIn, is fantastic. And this is what I have to say here. Similar to the number of citations, the number of social media mentions of an article is a function of time since its publication. Function of time since it's what? Publication. And your time starts. Thank you. So, we look at bibliometric and altmetrics. Bibliometrics and altmetrics. So you can read up about altmetrics and bibliometric as well, because it will help you to track your research. So podcasts for academics. Podcasts for academics, there are lots of them, and I've been listening to some of them. So I encourage you as a cohort. I'm going to slow down here. You can do it. I know people, one is in the US, one is in the UK. They're both podcasters. They're working on one podcast, and they come together and do their podcast. So location should not be a reason why your cohort should not have a podcast to talk about your findings. Okay? So these are some of the examples of the academic podcasts that you can listen to. Then again, YouTube is the largest online community for user-generated videos. We want to see your faces. Nowadays, we're not even bothered whether you're fine or you're not fine. Who needs fine? We just need your content, okay? So take advantage of what YouTube provides. Don't be an island. I'm going to slow down again. Collaboration is the new oil. Reinvent towards your best versions, just as the keynote speaker said. Network with others, meet new people, invest in yourself. The law of influence helps you to increase your influence. Evolve. Don't be a lake. Don't be stagnant. And your time starts now. Create a strong online presence for yourself. Your time starts now, yeah? Choose the right platforms, craft engaging content, collaborate with your peers, utilize hashtags. They help you to be found. Engage with your audience, schedule your updates. Professional website is good for you. Establish your most important metrics. Make sure that you can be found. And finally, we need new names. Your new names. We want you to take over and to take charge. You, my friends, are next in line. Use this prestigious scholarship as a stepping stone to prominence in the media, and also close the gap between the academia and the larger community. Finally, show up on the radar, strut your stuff, condense the research, and do what? Thank you very much.